And here we go. Day 2 is underway, and it is 8:30 here, and we are excited, ready to go. It was an amazing day yesterday with all of the educators I got a chance to talk to, the presenters. I was able to attend a few sessions, and we're back here. I'll be here all day today. Check out the list of amazing guests on Twitter at Matthew X Joseph. You'll see the schedule, you see what we're doing, and you can watch us live. You can watch us live here on Twitter, on YouTube, on my Facebook page, because you're not going to want to miss the lineup for today. The smoothie machine is still here, so you hear that through the day. The music is still playing, and the list of amazing guests have begun. And we're going to start first thing in the morning with RACHELLE DENÉ, who is going to be, I think this is her only half hour where she's not presenting once you see her schedule. So welcome in today. Thanks for being the first guest.
Good morning, and thank you for having me as one of your guests. I don't know how you're doing all of these things. You talk about me, but holy cow, you have quite the schedule.
It is quite a schedule, but for me, in a selfish way, I get to meet and hear from so many people. So it's a win-win for me. So how about you? How was your first day yesterday?
I don't even remember. No, I'm kidding. It was like
that's not a good thing.
It was one. It was very reminiscent of being here for ISTE, because I walked in early and then I walked out like expecting it to be light because the weather was so nice. I'm like, oh, it's actually dark, because I finished up at 6. But it was good, just to be back here and see the people and see friends. And I didn't have as much of an opportunity to kind of mix and mingle because I was in sessions, but I love doing sessions, and I had a chance to present with Brett yesterday.
My roommate.
Yes, for the first time. And I mean, it's really the first time we've gotten to spend like an extended period of time together in the same space. And it was just awesome. And then just even in the session that we did together and the other ones earlier in the day, the people that come in that, that have been to your sessions before, that you've known on Twitter, some on Clubhouse, and you've not had a chance to meet in person. So it was really good. And then nice, kind of quiet dinner with friends. And I went back and did some work in the room and just ordered some ice cream, and that was it.
There you go. And it is interesting when you see people for the first time who you've only connected with or met. I'm fortunate where we have met many times, but I had a few people walk by this morning like, hey, nice. And it's like for that second, you're like, okay, I got to put the pieces together. So
right.
that is quite interesting. So RACHELLE was talking about, she had a couple sessions yesterday. You have a few more through this event. What do you have today?
Podcasts, a couple podcasts. I get to go and listen into the opening keynote for a little bit before the actual keynote today. I got to think what else. I have a 2-hour workshop on artificial intelligence later this afternoon. I have a 30-minute AI, AR, VR in the Discovery Theater in the Expo Hall, which I just messaged Jamie Donnelly last night. I was like, hey, what are you doing between 3:15 and 3:45? Because it's so odd that her and I, at almost every conference that we attend together, we present together in some fashion. And even if it's not an official, like we put the presentation proposal in together, it's just like, hey, are you available? Okay, come on in. And at ISTE, we didn't have anything together, and there wasn't any time to fit. And even this time, like we didn't plan for it. So I just messaged her and said, hey, she's like, yep, I'm available at that time. So we have that. And I have a booth presentation with Everify later on, and couple other meetings and things with some people that I've just not had a chance to meet in person. So this is the perfect opportunity to do that, especially when they're not from anywhere close nor in the United States. So even if it's like a 10-minute just to sit down and chat, like it's totally worth it. So looking forward to that.
And with all of that and meeting people and presenting, what are you hoping to take away from the event?
Lots of questions that people have, because the one thing that I say so often, I should probably just like wear a badge with it that says like, I am not an expert. But even, in our session, the one that we did yesterday, it was NFTs, blockchain, metaverse, and talk about ChatGPT and those type of topics. Like I've written about those for a couple of years, but I hadn't actually presented on them until I went to a conference in Tennessee in December. It was the first time, and I was nervous, but because it's like, it's one thing to write about it, but then to actually be in a room full of people. So then yesterday I had put this in for proposal, how long ago
Sure.
they go in. I'm like, I have plenty of time. So then in the 2 hours, we had a really big group, and there were great questions in between Brett and I just answering them. But a lot of the questions that they asked about certain things, like safety and security and the privacy and how do we get students to learn about these things if we don't know about these things? It just gave me questions to think about. So the next time I present on it, which coincidentally there's one tomorrow morning, but a little bit shorter, 45 minutes, and then other conferences, like I can add that information in because those are going to be questions that people have. But made some new connections and learned some new ideas for my STEM class that I have at school. So I always learn so much. I mean, it pushes our thinking too, even if you're presenting. Ask questions, and sometimes I don't know the answer. So I'm like, hey, anybody in the crowd, please. Yeah.
Yes, and I think that's the one of the powers of the events like FETC is that there's so many people here who can answer that question. If you don't know something or you have something you want to learn, there's someone who can either answer the question or support you in some of the questions that you have.
Right.
So one of the sessions this afternoon today is what do educators need to know about blockchain and metaverse? So what do we need to know?
A lot. It's changing.
In AI.
In AI, yeah. I started to learn about it. I think it was 5 years ago. Getting Smart had different themes, and I was starting to blog and writing about things in my classroom, which we know that's easy. Like, this is what I did. Here's some tools I use, and move on. But the AI, I thought maybe I'll learn about this, and so I wrote an article about it. In the last 5 years, I've been just continuing to learn about it. Still not an expert, but spent a lot of time on it. And I think that the biggest thing is like, and a lot of teachers probably say this, at least I know I have, like, well, I'm just a Spanish teacher, and you put that word just in there, and
Yeah.
I can't teach about AI, or I can't bring AR, VR, any of those emerging topics in my classroom, or I'm elementary, like, how do I do this? So for me, my purpose is to share a lot of resources that can be used with, grade kindergarten, first grade, second grade, all the way up to higher ed, and knowing what's out there, having ideas to get started with, resources. Of course, some are free, some come with a cause, as we all know, but sharing what the benefits are and getting teachers to take that time during the workshop to open that tab, to try that activity.
Sure.
So then they see, because it's easy to like take it all in, but then all of a sudden you're overwhelmed and you're like, I'll get to that. I can tell you, I have a long list of things that I've been trying to get to since like 2021 at this point. So I encourage people to like dive in and see that you don't have to be the expert. There's things out there that you can get started with, and just let the kids like get started and go with whatever direction they want to. So,
and one of the things I noticed, besides all the sessions they're doing, you have some time in the event hall at some booths and supporting some of these great tools. If you want to share some of that.
Yeah, so I will be at EverFi later, and they have so many amazing resources. I'll be talking about social emotional learning, which is something that, goodness, it's ironic that I kind of present on that a lot now, because years ago somebody had asked me, what are you doing for SEL? And with all the acronyms, I thought, like, wait, what is that? And I said, well, what are you doing? And when they named some things, I thought, oh yeah, I'm doing some of that too. And then that's when I started to do some more research. But I'll be at EverFi, I'll be a book creator, doing a presentation tomorrow about fostering community and using Book Creator and how you can create those spaces. And then I have some friends that are like, we use spaces in my classroom. Pick My Kid, got to stop by there. And I have a long list. I'm like, these are the places I want to stop by. Quizzes is another one that I've known their team for many, many years. My students love all these games. So for me, like, I like to get in there and see people, the products that I'm using, the people that I've connected with to learn more about the products, but also really excited about the Pitch Fest, because EdTech startups and their ideas, I know I have some people that I've connected with that they're in that competition. So I'm looking forward to getting in there today. And it's a great place to like run into people, even if just for a quick like selfie, and then that's it.
Absolutely. You walk in there, and it's a little overwhelming at first for the amount of just mere space and the signs and the noises and the giveaways, all of those things. But when you find your way, there are definitely some products, people that will be supporting you in whatever role you have in the schools. And also in the event hall is where we have the Meet the Author experience. So
Right.
tomorrow you're going to be there at 11:45. So if you happen to have a chance, stop in, pick up one of these great books, meet Rochelle, and have your book signed, get a picture, and just to say hi if you haven't met yet. So real quick, when you look at all of this, what's the first thing you think?
When I look at the books,
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
the first thing that I think is that this is probably not the first thing, but the thing that comes to mind is like how thankful I am that I took myself out of feeling like I had to just be in my classroom and not build relationships, and what difference those relationships that I started to build made, because without those connections through Twitter with my students, none of that would be possible. And it all started back in law school with like seeing the role of a teacher and the importance of being a mentor and like making time for students that changed that. Because without that, I wouldn't still be in education. And without that, I wouldn't have started to work with the students and to go to conferences and to reach out on Twitter and meet some friends from first Twitter chat I did. It was Wiley at, no, it wasn't Wiley at chat. I forget what it was called, but Sean, Katrina, Greg, a couple people from Tennessee were in it. And they're like, what part of Tennessee are you from? Like, I'm actually from Pittsburgh. But then the first ISTE, I got to meet them in 2015. And it just continued to build from that. So when I see all of that, it's not just my story. It's a combination of relationships that I formed and people that I connected with that were then able to share their voices in all of those spaces. So that was a very long answer.
No, not at all, because I think it's important to talk about that, to share. Rachelle's website is down below. You can see all the great work she does. And let me just pull this up because we were just talking about your books. You can go to bit.ly/Booth for just an inside look at all that she's doing and check out the books and see all the work that's happening. So as people are walking by, and it's great to be live, first of all, and this is a time that we have the kind of, you're fine, to meet people and to make connections. And you're, I would say, an experienced conference goer. For those who are new here, what are some strategies for them to not feel overwhelmed?
Yeah, don't totally pack your schedule, which is ironic coming from me.
I was going to say, oh boy.
But, it can be overwhelming to look at the schedule and think, oh my gosh, there are so many things to choose from. But I always say, like, before you even look at what's offered, think about ideas that you've heard about or things that you've read about and you wanted to try, or something that you've been doing in your classroom that hasn't gone well, and then search the program to find something that's aligned with that. Check out things in the expo hall, like if there's a discovery theater, and don't feel like, and I say this in my sessions, I'm sure you do too, like, don't feel like you have to, once you go in, stay the entire time, because if you feel like it's not matching up with what your interests are, or sometimes you just need a break. Like, right. Don't be afraid to just go and sit somewhere outside and connect with people. My good friend Rodney Turner years ago, he said, if you see somebody sitting by themselves, like, go over and ask if they want to join your group. He said, but also be respectful that they might just really want the time alone too. But sometimes people come, like my first time to ISTE, I went by myself. And I mean, luckily I had known some people, but I met a lot of first time goers to FETC yesterday, and they were already feeling overwhelmed on the first day. And there's not so much commotion yet, but just make time to take a break, conversations. And if you don't get to that session, it's okay, because from point A to point B, you're going to meet people and you're going to have learning that happens along the way anyway.
And I think that's the important piece. Everybody's here for a different reason. Everybody's looking to take something different away. And I think having those conversations are important. But I think one of the things you also said, which sometimes people aren't comfortable with, if it's not a good match, the session, find another session.
Right.
And it's okay to do that. And as someone who's presented, people have walked out. Some people have walked in halfway through, and just know that that's okay. And I think you're here, meaning you, of course, but the universal you who are here, to take something away. Whatever your goals are, if the session's not matching it, find one that is.
Right.
So you're here the rest of the week?
Nope, I leave tomorrow. I have to figure out my great escape plan, because I'm a book creator from 1:15 to 1:30, and my flight is right around 4. So I need to get the logistics of the suitcase, the bag, and because I'm in here all morning. So yeah, but I fly out tomorrow since TCA is coming up next weekend. I got to get back and teach for a couple of days, and I'm fortunate that I can come and see everybody and interact. But yeah, so I'll be missing out on some of it. But I'm just glad to be here. So.
I'm sure. So how many FETC events have you been to? You don't have to get it exactly right, but...
How many years?
How many times, yeah.
I think this is my 6th.
Okay.
I think.
Any one memory stand out?
We keep talking about Jamie Donnelly. Actually, 2. So the first one, when I went, I had already met Jamie Donnelly in person the year prior, but then it was in Orlando, and I just went by myself. I had never been, didn't know what to expect. I had been to ISTE, so I had this whole concept of all of the typical things, but it was just nice to know her and to spend time with her, and then to connect with her friends and to, build that group from that point. And then the other time that stands out was in Orlando also. There's that tall spin thing. There's a big wheel, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And then there's this tall, I think it's like 400 feet tall, and it's like the swings that you see at the amusement parks where you sit side by side and it spins around. So I'm always kind of like a daredevil when it comes to rides. And we were
Is that why you have a cast on?
Well, yeah, that's. I wish this was because of a ride at the amusement park. At least be a better story. But we were walking and it was at night, so like it was all lit up, the big pole, and you could see. And I looked at it, and I was with Mandy Fralick and Tisha Richmond and Rodney. I'm like, we're going on that. They're like, no way. We were on the way to the participate event, and I said, well, I'm going by myself. And Rodney says, you can't go by yourself. And I said, you come with me? He's like, I don't know. I said, come on. So he went with me, and you literally, you go up to the top, and it spins you around like 400 feet up, you and the person next to you on the swing, at like 40 miles an hour. And it's in the dark, and you're just spinning, and then it comes down and lowers. It was like the best thing ever. But then when you're away from it, you see it. So I just remember like what a thrill that was. But just, I don't know, just fun memories that pop up. And I mean, lots of laughs with all the friends too and things. So just those times in the socials, they're great. Every year has had a different kind of like, oh my goodness, you remember that time. So
awesome. Well, I hope you have a great rest of the time that you're here. I know you're going to be on with Carl and Adam later.
Yeah.
So make sure to give them some grief.
I will.
And have a great day. Awesome sessions. And tomorrow is, what time we have again? Tomorrow, 11:45. Check out Rachelle at the Author Experience in the event hall.
Thank you.
All right. Well, have an awesome day. And then thanks for kicking off day 2.
Yeah, thank you.